Welcome to the FMCG podcast. Make sure you're following us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us out. Enjoy the show. Hi, good morning. My name is Rich and we're Consumer Hub, and we focus on recruiting, marketing, innovation and sales professionals across consumer products and consumer tech. And this is the FMCG podcast where we speak with the leaders of today and hear their insights into their products, their categories and also leadership. So today we're really excited to have Zoey from Fungtn on our show, and she's going to tell us all about her mushrooms, her beer and her business. Zoey, over to you. Give us a bit of a headlight into you and your business.
Hi, nice to be chatting with you. So I'm the founder of Fungtn, and we are the first alcohol-free craft beer brand to brew with functional mushrooms. Mushrooms in a beer, it's not weird. Your beer won't taste like mushrooms and it won't get you high. These are amazing functional mushrooms that have been used within traditional health and wellness for thousands of years, and now our kind of modern science is catching up to why so. They contain really interesting bioavailable compounds that are super nutritious and beneficial to our health. Everything from immune support to cognitive health support, helping sleep, memory, focus. I really wanted to go past just creating an alcohol-free beer and put something else in there that was going to give additional benefits to help people empower their health. So I'm obsessed with mushrooms and fungi. I've been kind of deep diving on them now for about 10 years, loads of really fantastic applications. And I really wanted to put it into a consumer product that people could integrate into their everyday diets and into their ceremony, because we are creatures of habit. We love doing things via rituals. We love having that morning coffee, that afternoon drink. But why do these have to be bad for you? Why do they have to contain things that aren't always, the best thing for us, like smashing 5 pints on a Tuesday night and having to get up the next day for work? So I really wanted to create a product that was a great tasting craft beer, but also was kind of educating people around these benefits of the amazing mushrooms as well.
Brilliant. That's fascinating. Thanks for the quick run through there. So you're saying you've obviously been a mushroom aficionado from the sidelines for the last 10 years. Where did the idea come from, and how did you initially sort of get that kind of spark of interest into the applications of mushrooms on diet and well-being?
So I've always been into health and wellness. So one of my early businesses was a juice bar, and we were doing juice detoxing programs and was kind of, into superfoods and stuff really early on. But I never really knew much about mushrooms. I knew they had good nutritional content, high in minerals, selenium, magnesium. But I didn't understand there was a category within the kingdom of fungi, and it is a kingdom in itself, of functional mushrooms. And these have these additional bioavailable compounds that are really beneficial to our health. So they contain proteins and starter proteins and enzymes that actually work synergistically with our body and our body's receptors to help our overall health and help our bodies perform at their best. I was in the US and I'd spoken to a naturopath, and I'd had some health problems I was trying to sort out. I had really bad eczema and inflammation, and my skin was getting quite sore. And she recommended that I take reishi mushroom. And reishi is an amazing anti-inflammatory and antihistamine. Works a little bit like we understand turmeric and curcumin, the active ingredient in turmeric, to work. Dampens down the inflammation response. It also is an anti-inflammatory, so that's working alongside the antihistamine in it. Really, really interesting mushroom. It's got a long historical use, thousands of years in Asia. It's known as the mushroom of immortality. And we now know it's because of these compounds that obviously was keeping people alive and fit and healthy for so long. So I got into the mushrooms through them. Then I started doing research around them. There was quite a cool mushroom coffee brand called Four Sigmatic, which is now available here in the UK. They'd just launched in the US, and they had a pop-up in LA called Shroom Room. It was just a guy in this giant mushroom talking about mushrooms. And I was like, mind blown. So I started to learn about, I just thought there were mushrooms, you're having a pizza, magical ones. And I didn't know about, the hundreds of interesting fungi and mushrooms that were all in the middle. So I really started to learn more about functional mushrooms, their applications, how they've been used historically. And I just thought they were an amazing product. And I started using them myself, and, taking chaga for my immunity, having it in my coffee every morning, lion's mane for my memory and my focus. So I became an advocate myself because I was taking them and found out how fascinating they were. And at the same time, I was working within the my last role before Fungtn was a mindful drinking consultant. So I was working in the no and low alcohol space. It was really growing and blossoming out kind of 2019, 20. And seeing these really cool products coming to market. And historically, our alcohol-free options in the UK, pre-2018 were pretty terrible. There was, there are other brands available, but people like Schlur, who are maybe quite sweet and very sugary.
Memes.
Yeah, Caliber, bless it, the first initiation of alcohol-free beer in the UK that was terrible, and people just got put off by it. People didn't understand about paying a premium price for the product, where the value proposition was in them, and also really the extended health benefits and kind of ailments that alcohol causes. So it was a perfect storm, really. And I saw an opportunity to bring these fantastic fungi more into the mainstream and actually put them into a product that consumers could integrate into their everyday drinking habits.
No, that's really interesting. Yeah. You can see behind me, got Lucky Saint, and did a podcast with them recently. And I've been giving it out to a couple of my mates that can't drink alcohol anymore. And they really enjoyed it. They kind of said, I can't fancy a bit more of that. It's not just boring Beck's Blue. It's not just the kind of pity prize at the back of the bar. Sorry, Bex. But the interesting thing, like you said, is it's a growth market, isn't it? Low and no. It's something that kind of crops up all the time in innovation development. The big companies want to get in on that action as well. So from your perspective, it sounds like there's a really clear kind of health and wellness mission there. But the actual product proposition itself, would you say, like, is it a functional drink? Does it sit within alcohol-free? What's the shopping occasion? Kind of, how do you sort of categorize, like, who's using it and why, basically?
So it's a really interesting proposition. We're a challenger brand. We're kind of disrupting the norm, if you like. Alcohol-free is a growing sterling market. It's a huge market. Alcohol-free category, alone in the UK is worth about 112 million. So it's a massive category, and it's a growing category. But where we could find the interesting differentiation, I think, is with this functional drinks category. Like you said, the major players are getting involved. The Heineken Zero, Guinness Zero. I think I was reading that Guinness Zero was Guinness's best performing product in terms of growth within the stable last year. So people are really tapping on the fact you can have a great product without the alcohol. But like all kind of new trends, consumers are liking to come towards the craft angle, especially with beer. Beck's Blue, the Heineken Zeros. People aren't necessarily going to gravitate towards them. If they love drinking a, kind of small branded IPA, they're going to want something that's similar to that. So that the craft alcohol-free beer market has been a really interesting space. And we're kind of launching in a new category within this functional drinks, and we're bringing in people from beer. People want to moderate their drinking, like you said, your friends, want to reduce their alcohol, but love the taste of beer. So we are, in all intents and purposes, a craft beer. We brew exactly the same way, the same methodology. We just use a different type of yeast, so we can cap the fermentation, stop it going over 0.5%.
Yeah,
we're a craft beer, but we also bring in people who are into their superfoods, into health and wellness. They may drink CBD drinks. They may drink other superfoods. They may use supplements. And actually now in the evenings, they want to carry on with their kind of interest in herbs and plants to give their bodies benefits, but they want to bring those into their adult occasion drinking.
Yeah.
And the lunchtime. And so, it's an interesting proposition for us, because we're the first functional craft beer, alcohol-free craft beer on the market. There are a few others that are coming in now, but still we're the only ones that brew with mushrooms exclusively. So we're crafting out this new space that's bringing in the health and wellness, the craft beer angle, into this kind of functional drinks category that sits in the middle. So we have a range of consumers. We have kind of the healthy hedonist that probably used to drink a lot and party back in the day, but now is wanting to kind of moderate their drinking and is really into health and wellness.
So I'm in chat to all my mates.
There we go. There you go. I think I've fallen into that category, and now really wanting to look after their health and not wanting to drink alcohol, over towards the the weekend warrior that works hard, plays hard, does sporting events on the weekend, does triathlons, whatever, but doesn't want to compromise, like we were discussing before. You go to the gym tonight and you have a good workout, and you got cool pints of 6% beer. It kind of negates all the good work that you've done. So there are different demographics of consumer that are drinking our product at different times, and we're also attacking them through different channels as well. So we're very much an omni-channel business, and we have different consumers that are consuming our products in different places.
That's really interesting. Okay, so there's kind of a few kind of really interesting shopper missions there and kind of consumer categories to kind of focus on. For those people that have got an interest in the product, maybe they're listening or watching it, they've kind of come across it in a store, like what are some of the benefits of the beer? Outside the obvious, obviously, not waking up with a hangover is a clear benefit, but what are some of the other interesting benefits that maybe you like me, you're a bit ignorant, and you think mushrooms is to do with Mario rather than beer. What are the benefits of some interesting mushrooms that are in that beer that you're making?
Yeah, well, what we always say to everyone is like, every beer is a fungi beer. And they go, what? And so, well, without yeast, you'd just be drinking hot water. Yeast is like the OG fungi. And so people go, oh, okay, so really, every beer is a mushroom beer, if you think of it like that. And people go, oh, okay, right, I get it. So one, that's not that weird having it in the beer. Unfortunately, we can't nobody can that uses mushrooms in their products, make direct claims around immunity, cognitive health, sleep patterns. That's just the way our legal infrastructure works around food and beverage in the UK. There are very few things that you can make direct claims around, most of vitamins and minerals. So if you over-index in vitamin C, vitamin D, you can talk about immunity, vitamin B12, you can talk about cognitive health, but we can't actually make any direct claims about our products. What we do is educate people around the mushrooms that we have at a functional level in our products, knowing that our customers are clever and into this stuff. You can put 2 and 2 together. So
yeah, makes sense.
3 different types of mushrooms. We use lion's mane mushroom, we use reishi, and we use shiitake. Lion's mane is an incredible functional mushroom. It's probably the one that's most talked about and people are starting to hear about in the press, in supplementation. Every day I seem to meet someone who's started to supplement with lion's mane because it helps memory and focus. So how these work is they work adaptogenically, and those who don't know what an adaptogen are, adaptogens are simply herbs and plants that have bioavailable compounds that really help support our body's natural rhythms and keep performing at their best. And why that's interesting, rather than boosting, your immunity, boosting these systems, we don't want to boost anything because our bodies are superhumans. We work really, really well. We're a very clever system, but we dumb it down with lack of sleep, toxins, not eating the right foods. So if we just maintain our body's natural homeostatic level working as it should, that's really, really, really good. So adaptogens work to kind of keep our bodies performing at their best. The phrase was coined by scientists in the 70s looking for natural herbs and plants to support troops on military duty.
Yeah.
And he isolated these certain plants, so rhodiola, ashwagandha, mushrooms. And so lion's mane mushroom helps our brain synthesize something called nerve growth factor. And this is a factor that nourishes and conditions the myelin sheath around our neurons, helps it firing and helps them kind of working at their best. When we get old, when we're stressed, when we have excess toxins, we don't get enough sleep, this sheath degrades and that causes brain fuzz, memory loss, bad sleeping patterns, and at the far extreme, things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And lion's mane actually helps our brains create the precursor proteins to synthesize this factor. So it can help increase our memory, can help our sleep patterns. And actually in Asia, lion's mane mushroom at high concentrations is used as a treatment for dementia and Alzheimer's. So it's a really powerful mushroom. Lots of interesting peer-reviewed scientific papers on it. And this is why I chose these particular mushrooms, because there is a lot of information. There's a lot of data. They've been used for thousands of years, but there's lots of modern scientific studies as well. So what I always do when I'm talking about stuff is send people back to studies. I want people to really do a deep dive. And I think when you start to get into fungi and mushrooms, especially the functional ones, you are interested in the health and wellness angle. So you do want to kind of deep dive in it.
That's fascinating. No, really, really interesting. Yeah. I'm very interested in that crossover between sort of Eastern and traditional medicines from all around the world and some of the new kind of scientific understanding that we've got around the way our bodies kind of synthesize different nutrients, because it is really interesting. It seems like there is a trend of just connections popping up in different places. One of my mates is a doctor, Western medicine, and he was kind of saying he finds it really interesting as well. But that's it's very on topic, isn't it? And I think, like say, if you're interested in the product, then you can be interested in the kind of components, aren't you, and the actual kind of benefits of that. So it makes sense that you can kind of give people info on that, and they can put 2 and 2 together. So there's a lot of alcohol-free beers now, and it's a growth market, like I say, it's worth 112 million, massive opportunity. But also, from a marketing perspective, there's a challenge with every opportunity, isn't there, and vice versa. So how do you make sure Fungtn stand out as a brand and attract the kind of shoppers and consumers that you want, and the kind of product doesn't just get lost in the noise and the hype of what is quite a buzzy place at the moment?
A huge market, which is amazing. We've got these major players coming in from the big breweries, which again is brilliant. They've got all the marketing dollars to really throw it at consumers and to help consumers understand the value of having a non-alcoholic product, and to let them know that, the quality of non-alcoholic products is really up there as well. So yeah, it is a crowded market, but we stand by our USP by brewing with these mushrooms. We're the only alcohol-free craft beer that brews the mushrooms. So straight away, we've got that interesting USP. We're never going to be a Heineken Zero. We're never going to bring in those revenues, and that's fine because we are servicing a smaller niche market looking for functional products, but that's still a multi-million-dollar market. So there's still a good chunk of revenue that we can gain from that. And I think we're only going to see it growing more and more. Immunity, immune support, how can I protect my immunity? These were the most Googled search terms in 2021, 2020. People were starting to understand, okay, there's bugs out there that's, getting us all. How do I make myself as healthy as possible? So if I do get sick, I recover quicker. Maybe I don't get sick at all. I don't have to rely on pharmaceutical medication to kind of help me through stuff. And so people were really going back to this ancient wisdom that we were just talking about, this old kind of traditional medicines, which, there were a lot of it that was pretty wild and kooky, but there was a lot of it that rang true because we listened to our body's rhythms. We understood how plants kind of work with our receptors. And somehow they understood this ancient wisdom. And now we have the benefit of modern science to be able to analyze deep down, dive in with the microscope and actually pull apart these elements and test these individual elements and find out, okay, reishi is known as the mushroom immortality because it helps inflammation. So that helps people straight away. It helps allergy response. So that helps people straight away. And we kind of can build that bigger picture with our modern science. So it really is this kind of interesting time where there's more consumer research into stuff happening. There's more consumers looking for these healthy, natural products, but also, like we discussed, that they can integrate into their everyday routine. They don't have to just take a big handful of supplements at the start of the day. Even if they are herbal supplements, it's boring, you forget, you have to, when you travel, you faff around with stuff. If you just know that, like, I have my mushroom coffee, I have my mushroom beer, I have ashwagandha in this, I do, and you integrate it into products that you love and you would have anyway, it's really kind of this, it's more than a trend. I think it's consumers, this health and wellness is a lifestyle choice that people are making rather than a trend, which means it's here to stay, which is a great proposition for any brand.
Yeah. I love that ethos there, yeah. I think, like I say, if you can build it into somebody's daily ritual, then you get loyalty and resonance there, don't you? Which actually elevates the value you offer as well beyond just the functional benefits of the product, which is really interesting. It makes it personal, doesn't it? So at the moment, tell me a bit about the products. What's the best seller? So is it just one product that you've got? Like, what's the range? Like, what's the kind of scope of that?
Lion's Mane IPA. It's the Reishi Citra, which is this amazing anti-inflammatory, antihistamine mushroom reishi. That's citra hops, so it's got nice, really heavy, oily citra hops in there.
Nice.
The bitterness of the reishi cuts through, so it's actually quite a light, refreshing beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then our kind of has been a bit of a Marmite, but actually now is becoming our second bestseller, is our Shiitake Dark Lager. So it's a malted Belgian-style dark lager. I love a dark lager, but I'm not a huge fan of a stout. So that's why you've got those malty, interesting, chocolatey tones that you get in a stout, but not like the punch in the face that you do. So these kind of dark lagers.
Not the iron hobnails thrown in as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So dark lagers are a great in between, and it's been really successful. Shiitake's got an interesting umami, kind of quite savory profile to it, and that paired down with like the malty chocolatey biscuit finish almost that comes out of the hops is a really, really interesting flavor. So we have the 3 stars at the moment. I am also developing a completely 0% beer, so it's non-fermented. The beer snob in me and probably the world would go, well, it's not really a beer if it's not fermented, but we're calling it a beer. We use hop essence and oils and loads of interesting kind of beer extracts to make the flavor profile. But we are really kind of growing that for the Middle East market, where consumers don't want a trace of alcohol in the product at all.
That's really interesting. Yeah, okay, fascinating. So how do you keep getting to know your customer, keep the conversation going? You see it all the time. Brands come in, they're hitting new niche. 5 years later, they've been overtaken by a competitor or one of the big people because they haven't stayed close to the consumer. They haven't kind of kept their position as a leader in that conversation. How do you think, as a leader in this space, you can continue to drive the relevance, to drive the leadership, both from a product perspective, but also from a sort of marketing and consumer engagement perspective?
Yeah, it's tough, and there are two things really that, like you said, what make a brand. And I think consumer goods, we've got 5 years to nail it. If you've not nailed it in 5 years, probably not going to happen. And there's 2 things. It's keeping that customer engagement, building your community, building the kind of education base and that interest in that brand, but also it's capital. So, funding and making sure you've got enough capital to be able to scale and push your marketing behind your products is very, very important. So they kind of work together. The building that relationship with the consumer, well, when we launched end of 2020, there was no other way to get to people apart from online. There were bits of on-trade opening here and there, but as we all know, it was a really hectic time and still is pretty much for our friends in the on-trade. So normally when you launch a beverage brand, you're on-trade, festivals, trade shows, events, you're pushing the brand out there, you're getting your brand ambassador.
Liquid on lips.
Yeah, get the liquid on lips. And none of this was happening. So we had to flip it, to kind of the last thing you do as a beverage brand, which is, eventually you might sort out your website and kind of push your online presence. But when you've got on-trade presence, when you've maybe got retail presence. So we've literally flipped it back to front. So we launched completely online, started to build our socials organically, and just started to talk to people as many places as possible about mushrooms and fungi, whether it was doing podcasts, whether it was writing articles, whether it was putting stuff out through our own social channels, and kind of building that brand and that interest around health and wellness and low alcohol. Because as well as the functional element of it, we are still a great alcohol-free beer. And I really believe that, food is our medicine, and we have control over our health every time we put something to our lips throughout the day. We really have that ability to control and monitor and empower our health for the better. And I really wanted to be helping to be part of that movement where consumers have better for you products. So I want to go out and drink lots of beer, but I don't want it to have alcohol in it. Having something that doesn't have much sugar, having something that's, better for us. I think we have a responsibility, to bring brands to the masses that are going to do us good. I think gone are the days, where you should feel good about actively bringing a brand to market that isn't very good for people. Because although it's a choice, I think, we steer the choice to the consumer by what's available. So if there is an amazing alcohol-free craft beer available, people will have it. If there isn't, people might have a pint of Coke, or they might have a drink.
Yeah.
So it really is, build it and they will come. So I think consumers really wanting to find more mindful, healthier options. I think we're a big part of that conversation as well. My background working within the industry definitely helps. And I think you've got to kind of target your customers where they are. And at the moment, and still is, customers are online, they might be going to buy you from retailers, they might be buying you from pubs, but moving on from 2020, when everyone just lived online, and 2021, we all just lived online, consumers are really looking to socials and looking to online resources and hubs for their information on products, and also to build relationships with products as well. So we're very much kind of talking to our customers. We've got a good core of customers. We've started a subscription model, which we're building slowly. So, consumers are regularly having our products, and we regularly talk to them and ask them feedback and try and get their thoughts and opinion on the brand and how we can make it better.
It's really interesting. So you've got a virtuous feedback loop of kind of sort of strong investment in product and marketing from a capital perspective, but also making sure you've got strong investment in terms of time and care into that kind of community that you're nurturing through feedback, through subscription models, through involving them in that kind of evolving story.
And there's a sweet spot in the middle, isn't there, between, you've got your marketing and how you talk and your brand voice, and then you've got, unfortunately, the capital needed to scale the business, and you can get far. But when they come together, that sweet spot in the middle where you've then got more, oomph behind your marketing, you can reach more people, you can do more events, you can do more cool installations and pop-ups and really kind of talk to people. So yeah, it's making sure that we're in that sweet spot.
That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that insight there. So what about, you obviously shared that other product that you've got coming through on the horizon, which is kind of 0%, aimed at the Middle East market. And you kind of anything else kind of coming down the tracks? Maybe you're going to be at a festival. Have anything that you want to share that's kind of buzzy, exciting, going on in your world at the moment?
Yeah, so we've launched a collaboration with a really great coffee company called Balance Coffee. They are an ethical, sustainable artisan coffee company who use really amazing clean coffee. They are mainly an online brand, and we collaborated with them to do a mushroom coffee. So we're putting our mushrooms into their products, and we've done a unique blend with Lion's Mane. So we've launched a Lion's Mane coffee with them. And that's great. We were sending it out mainly to our online customers, and they were the first to hear about it a month ago, and now we're kind of softly getting it out into the trade as well. But yeah, I mean, I love mushroom coffee. That was what I was drinking when I first kind of got into mushrooms. I have scooped my coffee every morning.
That was the gateway drink?
That was the gateway one that got me into the world of mushrooms. And for me, Fungtn is an amazing vessel to help people empower their health, to help people learn more about fungi. So, my company is called the Functional Brew Company. So there are other modalities that we can get mushrooms into. It won't just be beer.
Nice. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah. And finally, you obviously alluded to it quite a bit, but where can people buy the products at the moment? Tell us, how we can go and get our hands on the good stuff.
Yeah, so we are in all Planet Organic stores in London, and we have about 150 independent stockists in London and in the UK. If you don't have one near your house or where you work, you can always go online, fungtn.com, and purchase our products online. And I will give your listeners a little discount to put in the show notes as well.
Oh, brilliant. That's good. Well, we'll get that out to our mailer as well. That'd be great. Well, look, thank you so much for sharing the kind of insight into the category there, Zoe, and your story, the business. I mean, I've genuinely really enjoyed this. Learn loads. It's been super. Keep us posted on what's going on. We'd love to share it with our community. Thank you very much, everyone that's listened, watched, engaged with shorts or long format on this podcast. Please do reach out to Zoe. Thank you for her time. Anyone that comes on the show is doing it because they are passionate about FMC and they want to share their category insights with you because you're passionate about it as well. And more importantly, go out and try some Fungtn products and give Zoe and the community there some feedback. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Amazing. Much love.